bislang waren es Free Practices und Qualifying. Jetzt geht es in das erste Renngeschehen mit der TCR, also ein Tourenwagenrennen, das wir in einer sehr schönen Klasse von kompakten Fahrzeugen bewundern dürfen. Es sind sehr viele Audi mit dabei, viele Hyundai Elantra und auch Honda Civic Type R, der so persönlich, ohne jetzt irgendwie allzu stark tendenziell werden zu wollen, mein Favoritenfahrzeug, einfach so ein Honda, wie so Flippermaschine, sehr digital, wie eine Computeranimation fast ausschaut, aber sich einfach brachial gut fährt und sehr gut dreht. Was wir gerade gesehen haben, auch Cupra ist mittlerweile ein Zug in diesem Feld mit immerhin zwei Fahrzeugen von Jensen Brickley und von Eric Gené repräsentiert. Wir haben einen Lück und Co. mit dabei. Ein Lück und Co., eine Marke, die von Geely aus China gerade eingebracht wird, hier auch in Deutschland, durch ein kleines SUV, großen Aufsehen erregt. Victor Andersson aus Schweden fährt diesen einzigen Lück und Co. mit 340 PS und ca. 1,26 Tonnen Leergewicht. Es ist so die Größenordnung, die wir heute sowieso hier sehen können auf der Strecke. Mit der diese Fahrzeuge bei Leistungsgewicht sind es natürlich durchaus mit sehr, sehr hoch motorisierten Porsche vergleichbar, als auf der normalen Strecke jedenfalls. Hier also ein Starterfeld im Bereich der Kompaktklasse mit sehr schönem Leistungsgewicht. 30 Minuten werden gefahren und wir haben schon in den letzten Rennen dieser Saison, das ist ja nicht so lange her, das ist ja zu alt, wir haben ja ein paar wenige Rennen mittlerweile sehen dürfen, auch betrachten können, dass sich hier richtig gute Zweikämpfe entspringen. Ne? Das ist etwas, wo die Vergleichbarkeit der Leistungskategorien gegeben ist. Die Fahrzeuge sind ziemlich ebenbürtig und so kommt es darauf an, dass auch mal hier und da ein fahrerischer Schnitt in der Kurve beziehungsweise auch der Mut, spät zu bremsen und auf der Geraden durchzuziehen, belohnt werden kann, indem man dann irgendwann künftig noch an der Spitze des Feldes kommt. Marco Utti wird hier von der Pole starten, danach Nicola Baldan und dann Max Haas und das Ganze geht dann weiter auf koreanischer Ebene mit Julio Park. Dann kommt der gerade erwähnte Eric Gené in seinem Cupra und Victor Andersson in seinem Lück und Co. auf Startplatz 7, das ist der Startplatz. Alle Fahrzeuge einmal durch, Hyundai Elantra, Hyundai auch inzwischen eine sehr ernstzunehmende Sportmarke, hat ja Albert Biermann eingebracht, der ehemalige BMW-Entwicklungschef, der vor einigen Jahren Hyundai gewechselt hat und dann dort wirklich in puncto Fahrdynamik auch in den Serienfahrzeugen ganz, ganz große Maßstäbe ansetzen durfte. Das sind mittlerweile richtig gute Fahrmaschinen, wie auch Hyundai 30N oder Hyundai Ioniq N, der Elektrobomber mit 615 PS. Auch das kann nicht übersehen werden. Mit dabei der Audi RS3, auch Audi, wir haben es vorhin schon gesagt, hat ein kleines bisschen
Hello everybody and a very warm welcome to the Hockenheimring for round 3, race number 1 of TCR Europe in 2025. My name is Paul Jeffrey and I am delighted to welcome you along to our first race of the weekend here at this beautiful German circuit, the first time that we have been to the Hockenheimring since 2019. Air temperature is a comfortable 20 degrees today. The weather significantly better than what we've experienced over the course of the weekend so far. And it aided that man Marco Butti to his pole position award by TR watchers just this morning. He'll be starting on the front of the grid the very first time the Italian driver has started in pole position in TCR Europe. And something of a tonic after a difficult Spa-Francorchamps race 2. Can the Italian driver repeat his race 1 heroics in this opening round of the weekend? We'll find out in a few moments' time. And as you can see, the field looks resplendent out there on the grid. We're only a few minutes away from receiving the green flag, and then we'll go racing for 25 minutes plus 1 lap to decide who takes the first trophy of the weekend here in TCR Europe. Practice and qualifying, as mentioned, have been in inclement weather, it has to be said. There's been sprinklings of rain all around the Hockenheim circuit, and that, quite frankly, has taken the form book, took it out of the office, ripped it up and thrown it in the bin. We really don't know what to expect coming into this one. A lot of drivers are taking a bridge into the unknown, I think it's fair to say. Limited practice laps always makes for great racing. Let's have a look then at our roll of honour. Franco Girolami is our reigning champion. And these are the places that we visit. TCR Europe, some incredible tracks. We've already been to Portimão and Spa-Francorchamps here at the Hockenheimring. Then in a few weeks' time to Misano in Italy. Then the Red Bull Ring, and rounding out our 2025 season at the wonderful Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya over the weekend of the 26th to the 27th of September. 2 events in already. Can you believe how fast this has gone since the 26th of April? But here at the Hockenheimring is a different challenge altogether. 16 turns, 6 to the left, 10 to the right, 7.004. Come on, that's not right. And a track record of a 1 minute 47.095 by Josh Viles all the way back in 2019, the last time we visited this venue. Now, weather is better than it has been all weekend. Pace will be significantly higher. But as I alluded to earlier on, our drivers haven't really had the consistent running they would perhaps have liked coming into this weekend. So there'll be a few people maybe a little bit more nervous about their prospects than perhaps they would have been. We'll talk about the grid in a few moments' time. There are several drivers significantly out of position, not least of which is our championship leader Teddy Clairet, only good enough for 14th in qualifying. Jenson Brickley, that you briefly saw on screen, just 16th position. Those drivers are going to be ones to keep an eye out when we go racing. I dare say they'll be very keen indeed to side their way through the pack and try and compensate somewhat for the difficult time they had in qualification. Another driver that struggled, Johnson Park, that you see there for Solite Indigo Racing, all the way down in 18th position for the Korean driver. He's got a lot of work to do if he wants to be anywhere near top 10 contention come the checkered flag. We've seen on screen that 1 minute marker board has already been raised, so we will be in action in a few moments' time. I'll take this opportunity before we start racing to remind you all watching on TCR TV on YouTube, at the end of every race weekend, we have a TCR Unbox programme, all about a resume of the weekend for TCR Europe. Our first 2 episodes are already on TCR TV. Make sure you check them out at the end of the weekend. But let's have a look at our starting grid then. For this first race of the day, it is Marco Butti alongside Nicola Baldan for an all-Italian front row. Max Hart lines up in 3rd position. Jinhui Park is alongside him in the Hyundai Elantra cars. 3rd and 4th. 5th position goes the way of Eric Gené, with Nicholas Taylor starting from 6th. The first time the Canadian driver has made it through to Q2 in TCR Europe this season. Victor Anderson will be 7th. Ruben Vogt will be keeping him company in 8th position in the ALM Motorsports Honda Civic. Jimmy Clairet lines up in 9th, and Felipe Fernandez rounds out our top 10 drivers for this first race. Fernandez will be on pole for race 2 tomorrow morning. Santiago Concepcion and Felice Yalmini will be 11th and 12th positions respectively. Santiago in a good place to move forward. Mikael Karlsson returns for the first time since 2023, 13th on the grid, just ahead of our championship leader Teddy Clairet in 14th. Julian Brichet will line up in 15th position. Alongside him is Britain's Jensen Brickley. In 17th place, Filippo Barberi and Jun-Sung Park will be starting in 18th. Difficult qualifying for Jun-Sung. Expect that car to move forward in the race. Victor Fernandez is in 19th position. Pierre Arnaud Navarro in 20th place. And then, rounding out our 21-car grid, Jean-Laurent Navarro in 21st position. As mentioned, weather played a part in qualifying. It was dry, it was wet, it was dry, and it was wet some more, making life a little bit more difficult, perhaps, than our TCR Europe competitors would have hoped for coming into the session. That's great news for us folks watching on the TV, because we have got cars out of place, we have got drivers that are looking to capitalise on the opportunity presented. But quite frankly, honestly, I'd struggle to pick a winner coming into this one. It really is that open. Marco Butti, of course, having already taken victory in TCR Europe. He won race 1 at Spa-Francorchamps last time around. Comes into this one potentially as the favourite from pole position. But Nico Baldan will have something to say about that one. The experienced Italian driver looking to really kickstart his campaign this season. It's not been the powerful start that Baldan would have hoped, but still consistency's paid very well indeed. He's 6th position in the standings after qualification, some 29 away from Teddy Clairet at the head of the field, but crucially only a handful of points away from the rest of the chasing pack. So Baldan is going to be a man on a mission. Max Hart will be very interested in his opportunity to take at minimum a podium place away from this race. All the Irishmen though have the race pace and consistency to leverage that 3rd position on the grid. Jung-Wee Park boosted, I think it's fair to say, by a good outing for the Solite Indigo Racing team last time at Spa-Francorchamps. Jung-Wee finished 9th and 5th, respectively, in races 1 and 2. Jun-Sung, his teammates, 2nd and 4th. So we know the Hyundai Elantra N TCR has some pace. We know that squad does as well. It's going to be fascinating to see how that battle unfolds when we go racing in a few moments' time. As mentioned earlier then, Marco Butti has our pole position award by TR Watches, a new sponsor for TCR Europe, of course. All the drivers that take a pole position over the course of the season will receive one of the TR Watches, so it's a nice bonus for Marco. The key for him will be starting at the very front of the field. It's a tricky circuit, is the Hockenheimring. We expect it to be a place where overtaking is more than possible around multiple corners. Track limits, though, that's going to be one of the deciding factors, I'm sure, coming into this event. All of our drivers, especially down into T1, rather tricky, it has to be said, will be more than cautious for not stepping outside of the confines of the racing circuit. There is Pierre Arnaud Navarro, JSB competition, Hyundai Elantra N TCR, coming around into his 20th position spot, when himself and his brother Jean-Laurent are lined up on the final row of the grid. We'll be able to go motor racing for the first time here at the Hockenheimring. All cars are in position then. The green flag at the back of the field has been waved. The lights go on. And in a few moments' time, TCR Europe, Round 3, 2025, here at the Hockenheimring is go. And Nico Baldan, right at the very start, gets a beautiful launch off the line. Big pressure there for Marco Butti, as well as the meat in the sandwich. Max Hart trying to get up the inside. Around the outside goes Jensen Brickley. Has to step off the racing surface, though. Gets back onto the track and is side by side with Hart. Look at Nick Taylor. 3 wide as we run into the hairpin for the very first time. Will 3 TCR cars fit? Just about. Good stuff from Nicholas Taylor. Continuing that fight. Still 3 wide contact between Jensen Brickley and Max Hart. Park in the background as well, trying to buy into this one for the Solite Indigo team. And then look, just behind, Ruben Volt in 7th position. Absolutely hairs on the back of the neck stuff for Ruben Volt. He's trying desperately to buy into this little battle. Everybody, and whoa, that's a mistake. That's Butti, makes a mistake from 2nd position. That makes him vulnerable now. The entirety, it seems, of the TCR field climbing over the top of Navarro in the background as well, and Barberi, I believe it is, are also in some kind of strife. But look at this fight at the front of the pack, 2 wide, almost all the way through the field. Incredible, incredible stuff here at the Hockenheimring. But it is advantage Nico Baldan at this moment in time. And Marco Butti will be counting his lucky stars that he got back on the racetrack. Unfortunately, though, that does look like Jean-Laurent Navarro is saying goodbye to competition for the day. Will it call a safety car period? It's still yellow flags down there in turn 6, so hopefully we can get that car cleared out of the way as Max Hart clinging on in second position. Eric Gené climbing over the back of his machine. And then the rest of the field charging their way through Santiago Concepcion around the outside. But the inevitable safety car is here. Felipe Fernandez needs to be aware of that one as he tries to make his way through the charging pack. And everybody calms down again for a few moments while we clear away the debris and wreckage from that opening lap incident. And while we do have a moment, let's have a quick recap of the positions. It is, of course, Nico Baldan, our race leader, Max Hart, Eric Gené, Marco Butti, Santiago Concepcion in 5th. Nick Taylor, great start from Nick, the Canadian driver, up there in 6th position. That's really combative stuff from the PMA Motorsport man. Fabulous start to his race. Ruben Volta, Janui Park, 7th and 8th respectively. And a good start for Jimmy and Teddy Clairet. They're up there in 9th and 10th respectively. So that's been handy for the French squad, the Clairet Sport machine, of course, leading teams and drivers' championships at this moment in time. Difficult qualifying, though. 40 kilos of weight on Teddy Clairet's car. 30 kilos on Johnson Park, Eric Gené. 20 for Marco Butti and 10 for Jimmy Clairet. So Jimmy, a little bit lighter than brother Teddy. That might be an opportunity to charge through the pack. Right then, let's have a look at this opening lap then. Initial bit of contact between Gené and Max Hart. No harm, no foul there. That's just good touring car racing. But where did it all go wrong? That is Navarro, Fernandez, the other Navarro, and Barberi at the back of the pack. So they came together accordion effect style into the hairpin. Does look like that was, unfortunately, a bit of first lap shenanigans, and the field's tightly packed up. Jean Laurent and Filippo and Pierre all in strife. Safety car continues around then. 25 minutes plus 1 lap. We won't be extending distance on account of the safety car, but the marshals here at Hockenheim are ever efficient, so hopefully they'll get that car, Jean-Laurent Navarro's machine, already on the back of the tow truck and being pulled away from the racetrack. So hopefully we'll be racing again, folks, in a few moments' time. But while we are waiting, just gives our drivers an opportunity to take stock a little bit at the start of their race. And I dare say, if you're Marco Butti, this little break probably has done you the world of good. Little mistake on the opening lap. Dropped him down to 4th position. To be fair, that could have been significantly worse for the Italian driver, so Marco will be relatively okay with that one, I'm sure, and he's definitely got an opportunity to drive forwards. Big winners from the opening lap. Santiago Concepcion makes 6 places off of the start. He's up in a 5th position. He's been quite quiet as Santiago over the course of this weekend. We've not really seen much of him out on track in terms of pure pace, but again, as mentioned, difficult weather conditions, rendering free practice semi-useful and making qualifying a bit of a lottery as well. So maybe there's some pace in the Spanish driver's car, and maybe, just maybe, you might need to put a bit of gaffer tape on Pierre Arnaud Navarro's machine. That looks very unhealthy indeed. Front and rear damage on the Hyundai Elantra N TCR, and a technical flag. Rear bumper must be fixed. Fixing might be optimistic. Removed, most certainly. But that car's going to have to come down pit lane very, very soon indeed to get that rectified. Otherwise, it will be, of course, a disqualification. And looking out my commentary box window, it looks even worse in the flesh than it does on TV. Significant damage then on the JSB machine. Hopefully they get that sorted out relatively quickly, and no laps are needed to be lost. By the way, incident involving the cars 45, 6, 80 and 98 is under investigation by the stewards, so that'll take some unpicking, I'm sure, from our drivers. And while I have the opportunity, let's talk about our Youth and Diamond Trophy. Eric Gené leads the Youth Trophy. The Youth Trophy, of course, being for drivers 21 and under, the start of FP1 at the start of the season. He leads that one from Marco Butti and Santiago Concepcion. You can tell which one's a youth driver by the Y designated on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen. For the Diamond Trophy, it is a new driver, Mikael Karlsson, currently leading that classification up there in 14th position. Karlsson, of course, we last saw him, for those with a slightly longer memory, TCR Europe at the Hockenheimring back in 2023 when we were alongside Kumo FIA TCR World Tour. Carlson, in his final race in TCR Europe, scored his best result with a 7th position. So he'll be hoping to pick up where he left off somewhat. Spent a bit of time in GT racing this season, not having a fortuitous year, shall we say. So he's very much enjoying being back in the TCR Europe paddock and enjoying being behind the wheel of that ALM Motorsports Honda Civic Type R FL5 TCR. Limited running coming into this weekend. For limited, read none. So it is very much learn as you go for Mikael Carlson, but he's doing a really, really strong job at this moment in time. 14th place in... Was he 14th place? Oh, no, 13th place. There we go, Paul. In qualifying. He was disappointed with that one. But he thinks opportunities to move forward will present themselves as we see the sign we love the most on our screens. Safety car will be in this lap. And we'll go racing again. And it'll be down to Nico Beldan to get another sterling launch to protect that race lead from Max Hart, with Eric Gené and Marco Butti very closely in tow behind. So that bit of drama then, that's cost us a little bit of time in this race. 17.5 minutes still to go. Bit of confusion as well around the safety car, apparently, as we will be in next lap this time. So one more slow lap around this beautiful Hockenheimring circuit, and then we'll go racing. Pierre Arnaud Navarro comes down pit lane, gets the mechanical issues sorted with that very, very sad-looking JSB competition, Hyundai Elantra. Won't be too much of a problem for the team, I am sure. Just pull the thing off probably is the likeliest cause, or sticky tape it back on again. But they'll need to be very quick indeed, otherwise they're going to lose a lap and any prospects. In fact, it looks like it may be game over, unfortunately. Mechanic's having a quick look around there. JSB squad, very experienced, of course. Very much know their way around a TCR Hyundai Elantra. I think even for them, it may be a bridge too far to get that car up and running. Big shout out, by the way, anybody watching this broadcast here on site at the Hockenheimring. A quick note, if you're watching this one, 15:45 local time, we'll be having an autograph session in the paddock, in the large glass building in the middle of the paddock. So if you're watching this trackside and you fancy coming and meeting the stars of TCR Europe, we've got a great card, an A3 autograph card as well, and all our drivers will be there. Do pop over to the middle of the paddock at later on in the day and get your card signed. There is Bo Barberi's car, not looking very nice at all, is it? The Icoa machine for the Italian driver. 10th position every time he's been in a race for Barberi. Unfortunately, that record will be broken today. He's into a DNF. Real shame for the Italian, the youngster. Mileage so important at this stage in his campaign. And it's definitely not the result he was looking for, to be into such an early DNF at Hockenheimring. All of the learning that these drivers can do for race 2 tomorrow, vitally important with so mixed weather conditions. And frankly, weather tomorrow doesn't look particularly inviting, it has to be said. As things stand at this moment in time, some heavy rain could be on the horizon, which, in a reverse grid, second race turning car with rain, sounds like fun. Right then, safety car is in pit lane and Nico Beldan leads our field with 15 minutes plus 1 lap left on the clock from Max Hart and Eric Gené. Hart flashing of the headlights almost immediately is glued to the rear of Nico Beldan's machine. This has been a wonderful start for Max. He's got a great opportunity now to launch for the lead. He goes to the inside, last of the late breakers. Beldan closes the door just a little bit too late. And Max Hart is our new race leader. Around the outside, though, goes Eric Gené. He senses opportunity, does the Spanish driver. That door very firmly closed in his face by Max Hart, but Gené should still have the run. The outside will become the inside for the run down to the hairpin, and it may well be second position secured for the Spaniard. Can he get it done on the brakes? Beldan elects to back out of that one. In fact, backs out of it so much that opens the door for Marco Butti. Further contact down the hairpin. That is the Solar Indigo car of Park almost facing the wrong direction. Good bit of car collection though for Yanue to get that machine still on straight and narrow. So Park in strife, but it is Max Hart and Eric Gené at the head of the pack. Around the outside, Nicholas Taylor has a little look. There is Felice Yelmina, his PMA Motorsports teammate as well, keeping in touch. Taylor makes the bolt to the inside. Can he find room past Ruben Volt, though? I think he's just about got that one done. Volt aggressively returning to the racetrack, but can't quite relaunch a counter-attack as Marco Butti at the top of our shot, one way and then the other. On alongside Eric Gené, Felipe Fernandez goes to see the gravel as well, but recovers that car into the stadium section very nicely indeed. Jelmini and Park side by side, rubbing of wheel arches, while Ruben Volt and Nick Taylor have a go as well. Ruben Volt finds the inside line, finds the opportunity and takes the position away from the PMA Motorsports driver. Fernandez off the racetrack there, and a little bit slippy slidey, it seems, down on the old drag strip section of the racetrack. But just look at this battle pack. If you're Ruben Volt, you're going to do everything in your power to distance yourself from this squabbling field as quickly as possible. Nick Taylor trying to go with him, though, of course, and bringing Teddy Clairet and Felice Jelmini along for the ride. Junui Park trying to keep a watching brief as well. Let's take a little replay. What are we having a look here? Oh, that is Santiago, Concepcion and Nick Taylor coming together. So Concepcion very badly disadvantaged from that manoeuvre, loses several positions. Not ideal. And there is Junui Park also just recovering the car down into the... We knew it would be a pinch point at the hairpin, and that's very much proven to be the case as Felipe Fernandez has a wild ride out on the gravel, but the Spanish driver does very well indeed to collect that car and keep it up and running. Further down the pack, Teddy Clairet has a look to the inside of Nicholas Taylor. Audi on Audi. Clairet Sport versus PMA Motorsports. Teddy's the one with the advantage, but Taylor, he's going to have the inside line, he's going to hold the inside line. Does he have the chops to get it done? Yes, he does. Nick Taylor, very robust defence, almost opens the door for PMA Motorsports teammate Felice Jelmini as well. As we take a replay a little bit further up, that is Butti and Gené fighting hard together. Marco Butti, though, has the advantage into second position. Now pole position man looks like he's got the pace to trouble Max Hart quite significantly in his final 11.5 minutes. Mikkel Carlson, welcome back to TCR Europe. Mikkel, have a whole bunch of cars trying to find a way past you. Fantastic stuff from Carlson, having an absolute blast back in TCR Europe. And so far, so good. 11th position, just ahead of Jenson Brickley and Julian Brichet. Victor Anderson at the back of the shot there in the bright orange MAGP Lincoln Co-Machine. Not been a good start for the Swedish driver. In 15th, Felipe Fernandez makes his way past Julian Brichet. Concepcion, by the way, is in pit lane, so that contact from earlier in the race, perhaps, starting to show and rear its ugly head. Real shame for the young Spanish driver. After such a great start, 6 places gained off of the line, but unfortunately it's gone very wrong very quickly indeed for Santiago. Hopefully that car is repairable. He can get back out again either today or certainly tomorrow and have a better account of himself, as there is some real fight. This is Clairet and Jelmini and Park almost as one. Just in the background, Mikkel Carlson does mighty fine to avoid collecting that little squabble. Jenson Brickley's involved in there as well. Julian Brichet trying to buy into that one. Fabulous fighting further down. Navarro back out on the racetrack now with a semi-repaired Hyundai Elantra, doing a good job to stay well and truly out of the way. But this is a launch for position. Around the outside goes Jimmy Clairet. Can he get it done? Door handle to door handle, wing mirror to wing mirror with the Monlau Motorsports Cooper as Gené desperately trying to hold on to that one, but Jimmy Clairet knows this is a great opportunity to charge forward and help build his championship charge. The outside line, will it become the inside? Tries to switch back, can't get it done. The French driver now follows the Spanish driver of Eric Gené ahead, and Jimmy Clairet absolutely on fire, it seems, at this stage in the race. Really strong driving. Up there in 5th position, a little replay. That's Fernandez, Victor Fernandez. Gathering the car together, the RC2. Honda Civic is at the top of your shot. There was a mistake from Felice Jelmini, and there is a pass from Teddy Clairet into T1. You don't see that very often. In fact, Clairet goes a little bit deep as well. And this is what happened. Very slidey outside the racing confines there, and that one cost significant amount of time for Felice Jelmini. Jelmini down in 9th position now. Teammate Taylor 10th, sorry, as that just changes. Clairet up into 9th place. Brother Jimmy in 5th place. Bear in mind that Teddy and Jimmy lead our championship coming into this one, and right on cue. There goes Jimmy, past Gené. So another very, very strong manoeuvre there from the Clairet Sport number 21, Audi, up in a 4th position. Now, can he close the gap down? That's the big question to Nico Baldan. For Nicholas Taylor, no such considerations needed. He's just got to fight as hard as he possibly can against Park in the Hyundai and keep a watching brief on Teddy Clairet behind, who's got, for good measure, Nick Taylor's teammate Felice Jelmini climbing over the back of the Audi. Jelmini, of course, wasn't at Spa-Francorchamps. Back again now here at Hockenheimring. It's great to have the Italian driver back, having a very entertaining time, it seems. They're in 10th position. Got Jenson Brickley for good company as well there. Brickley, solid start for him. Jenson having started this race much further down the running order than he would have liked in 16th, but up into 11th. A solid recovery drive for the English driver. And Johnson Park and Mikkel Carlsen come into view almost as one in great touring car style. We knew this would be a good track for touring cars, and so it's already proving in this opening race of the weekend, round number 3 of TCR Europe in 2025, as Max Hart still leads from Marco Butti. Last time around, 148.7 for Hart, a 148.5 for Butti. So Butti's most certainly got the pace at this stage in the race. But as the late, great Murray Walker once said, catching is one thing, passing is an entirely different thing indeed. And Butti's going to have to work very hard to try and leverage this potential first TCR Europe victory for Max Hart. I think Max will be super enthusiastic, shall we say, to keep hold of that position. He so dearly loves his motor racing, so desperately wants to be successful in this championship, and Max absolutely delivering the goods at this moment in time. Comfortable as things stand with 6 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock, so Hart has an opportunity here, but it's going to take a defensive masterclass to keep Marco Butti behind. Butti, one of the best young talents in all of motorsports and touring cars, it has to be said. A real fast driver is Marco Butti for MM Motorsports. Already taken victory in TCR Europe, took a pole this morning. He'd dearly love to turn that into another win in the 111 machine. But it does seem as though maybe that charge has just slowed down at the front of the field as Nico Baldan stays in touch, but not quite close enough as things stand to launch an attack. Crossing the line then, start lap number 9 here at the Hockenheimring. Last time around a 48.7 versus a 48.4 for Max Hart and Marco Butti respectively. So Butti again quicker than race leader Max Hart, but not quite close enough to launch an attack. Nico Baldan, if anything, is bringing himself in a play as Jimmy Clairet, not a million miles away, 1.7 seconds detached in 4th position. Dare say the pace is possibly in Clairet Sport machine. But the big thing is, does Jimmy have the time to close onto the back of Nico Baldan? That's the big question, with Jimmy Clairet doing a good job so far in 4th place. Eric Gené just behind, and then there's a reasonably large gap to Ruben Volt for ALM Motorsports in 6th. Ruben will be relatively satisfied, I would say, with that result. Stay out of the trouble in the middle of the pack. Unlike these two, Felipe Fernandez and Jenson Brickley, leaning on each other ever so gently in touring car style, and that was almost a secondary bit of contact, but Brickley makes his way past. Fernandez loses another spot. Felipe now down into 12th position, with Julian Brichet for company for good measure as well. Will make it quite a difficult end to the race for the Spanish driver, and quite a difficult end to the race for Nicholas Taylor as well. Here we go, we're picking up Nick Taylor, 8th position. Teddy Clairet just behind. Felice Jelmini, teammate of Nick Taylor, keeping a watching brief as well. 3 Audis, 2 different teams, and Teddy under pressure at this moment in time. This is a replay then of how Brickley and Brichet and Victor Anderson, for good measure, have been having some good fun down at the hairpin. Unfortunately, though, there wasn't quite enough room for Jenson on the track, and he had to escape quickly to the left-hand side. But Jenson's still on the racetrack and still running in 11th place. Just behind this particular battle that we're watching now, there is Julian Brichet, Victor Anderson and Felipe Fernandez just behind as well, in 12th, 13th and 14th positions respectively. Brichet having a solid start to this race in 12th, and oh dear, that's a stranded Hyundai Elantra. That's not a good sign at all. That's Pierre Arnaud Navarro and the JSB machine. Stationary on the start-finish straight, thankfully away from the racing line. But I do fear that they're going to be having, possibly, another safety car intervention, unless he can get that car running of his own steam. We'll come back to that one, though, as we continue to watch this battle. Jensen Brickley, Julian Brichet, Victor Anderson, and Fernandez. 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th positions, respectively. Relatively calm. Oh, that's not calm, though. That's not calm at all. That's Nicholas Taylor, and that is contact with Clairet. So a very, very rare mistake from Teddy Clairet. Contact with the back, and I think that is game over for Teddy. He's pulling the car to the side of the circuit. Nick Taylor survived the onslaught, but has he got damage? And yep, confirmation. There is Teddy Clairet into retirement. So very unusual to see that kind of incident from the French driver. Let's take a look at what happens. Has a think about the inside line and just can't get that car slowed down. That does suggest that that's more than just driver error there. On board the number 20 machine, Victor Anderson was in strife as well at the back of the shot. So all happening down the hairpin. What a place to stand. You've come to Hockenheimring to spectate. Lots and lots of dramas. Marco Butti, his charge for race lead has well and truly evaporated. Now it seems Max Hart very comfortable. 1.9 seconds to the good of the head of the pack. And oh, young Yui Park. What's happened here? That is big damage to the rear of the car, and this is going to be a monster shunt. You know it. Rear end into the back of the barriers. That is a real shame for the Solite Indigo Racing driver. Just going to show there's very little grip as the temperature here at Hockenheimring is beginning to plummet. But Yanue, there we go, out of the car, which is good. Yanue does not look very happy indeed, and that's a real shame for what was a reasonably strong start to his weekend. Obviously that car will be repaired, they'll be back out again for race 2, but not how you want to end your day's adventures as Nicola Baldan now. Nico fancying his chances on the back of Marco Butti, the young driver and the experienced hand of Nico Baldan. Honda versus Audi, MM Motorsports versus Icoa Racing, and can Nico Baldan find a way to sneak his way past that Honda machine of Marco Butti? Butti, we know can attack, we know can defend, and we know he's very good under pressure. It's going to be hard work for Nico Baldan. We're running out of time in this race. 1 minute plus 1 lap still to go. Opportunities will be there, but they will be few and far between. Yellow flags in turn 13, by the way. Some damaged machinery, no problem. We're still under green flag conditions, and Nico Baldan now he needs to think. He's going to have one opportunity, and only one opportunity, to find a way past Marco Butti. But when that chance comes, Nico Baldan needs to grasp it very hard and very firm indeed. Marco Butti is not the kind of driver that you can overtake easily. And Hockenheimring is not the kind of circuit that you can do half-measure passes, otherwise you'll suddenly come under a world of pressure yourself. But while they're squabbling, that allows Max Hart to run away and extend the lead to 2.5 seconds. So it's been a very good last phase of this race for Max Hart. He's now pretty much in bring the car home mode, it has to be said. And the more the squabble continues, the more that Jimmy Clairet can get involved in this one as well, the easier the time will be for Max Hart at the head of the pack. Is Baldan, the Icoa machine, the Audi versus the Honda. Nico Baldan definitely has the body language of a car and driver that fancy their chances of finding a way past. Can Baldan get it done now? Use the slipstream. Stay glued to the rear of Marco's car. He's going to leave it to the last minute to have a look to the inside. Baldan thinks better of it. Mild defending from Marco Butti, then for the big switchback and the run out of the turn. That's a good line for Nico Baldan. Let's have a look at the replay. This is Jensen Brickley, Felipe Fernandez. Brickley on the inside, Fernandez on the outside line. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depends on how it goes. Yes, good. They made it through as Nico Baldan to the inside. Butti just about survives that one. Then here is Clairet as well. Contact between the two. Baldan, the two Audis come together. Baldan and Jimmy Clairet almost off of the racetrack. Jimmy gets the job done though. Nico drops down into 3rd position. So from attacker to defender in the blink of an eye. Max Hart, absolutely unaware of the dramas behind, serenely on his way to take the checkered flag. But this is a late change in the running order. Jimmy Clairet up on the bottom step of the podium. While they fought, that's allowed Marco Butti a little bit of breathing room up in the second position. He'll be grateful of that one. It has to be said. And now Nico Baldan has it all to do again, but not for the win. Sorry, not for second position, but now to get back onto the bottom step of the podium. Jimmy will be delighted with that one. Let's take another look. That's a very late punt to the inside for Baldan. Bit of contact, I think, between the two of them. And then look at Jimmy around the outside. Absolute commitment from the Clairet Sport driver. And that is a fabulous bit of driving. That's not so much a fabulous bit of driving, the initial contact. But again, two cars trying to share the same bit of tarmac, and unfortunately, sometimes these things happen. So, final lap of the race then. TCR Europe round 3 of 6, race number 1 of the weekend. And it looks very much like Max Hart is on course. Chalk up his first race victory of the weekend. Fabulous stuff from Max. He'll be absolutely delighted by this one. I am sure after a very difficult Spa-Francorchamps last time around, really down in the dumps was Max at the end of the weekend. Well, when you have a bad weekend, what's the best way to solve that? Have a great one next time out. And so far, so good for Max Hart through the final sections of this Hockenheim racetrack. And Max looking good to chalk up his first victory in TCR Europe. And a well-deserved one that will be as well. P7 in Portimão being the best result so far for Max. Dare say the target competition. Hyundai Elantra N team will be keeping everything crossed. The Hart can bring this car to the line through the final few corners. Unperturbed by the dramas behind is Max Hart. Raced and won in TCR Asia. Raced and won TCR UK. And now Max Hart becomes a first-time winner in TCR Europe, takes the flag here at the Hockenheimring for round number 3 to win the first race of the weekend. Marco Butti across the line in second, and Jimmy Clairet rounds out our podium finishers in a monstrous recovery drive. A little bit further down the order, Julian Brichet scores a top 10 result just ahead of Jensen Brickley. Mikael Carlsen on his return to TCR Europe, a very strong 12th position as well for ALM Motorsports. It's been a good race for Mikael Carlsen, but not as good as it was for Max Hart, with a very comfortable 3.5 second advantage at the flag, and with it the victory in what will be, I am sure, a very happy young man indeed when we get down a pit lane and see our race winner. Great guy is Max. Really does enjoy his racing, and he'll be absolutely delighted with that one, I am sure. Superb performance then at the front of the field. Few drivers that maybe were expecting to move forward didn't quite have the day that they were hoping for, and when we do the calculations, it probably turned the championship into a very exciting contest at the front. It was in danger of being a bit of a runaway for the Clairet Sport squad. We'll look at that one in a minute, though, and let's have a look at our provisional race results for the Hockenheimring. It is Max Hart as your winner from Marco Butti, Jimmy Clairet in 3rd position. Nico Baldan finishes in 4th ahead of Eric Gené. Ruben Volt and Felice Yelmini are 6th and 7th respectively. Nicholas Taylor, having been in the wars, it's fair to say, over the course of that race, finishes in 8th position. The Canadian will be relieved, I think it's fair to say, at that one. In 9th goes the way of Felipe Fernandez, just ahead of Julian Brichet. Jensen Brickley and Mikael Carlsen are 11th and 12th, from Victor Anderson and Jun-Sung Park in 14th. Victor Fernandez classified in 15th on the provisional results. And then Jean-Louis Park, Teddy Clairet, Pierre Arnaud Navarro, Santiago Concepcion, Filippo Barberi and Jean-Laurent Navarro are unfortunate retirees in this race. Fantastic stuff then. Thoroughly enjoyed that one, it has to be said. First victory for Max Hart in TCR Europe, and a well-earned victory it was indeed. By the way, the Diamond Trophy goes the way of Mikael Carlsen on his return to the championship. And speaking of championships, let's have a look at the championship standings. Provisional, of course. It is Jimmy Clairet, still our points leader. But now Marco Butti is into 2nd place, only 17 adrift. Teddy Clairet's 3rd. Eric Gené, 25 away from the head of the field in 4th. Nico Baldan, Jun-Sung Park, Max Hart and Felipe Fernandez are 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th, respectively. It's quite tight, isn't it, in our championship standings? In motor racing, everything is up for grabs at all times. You cannot afford a bad weekend. The Clairet Sport team have had a strong start to their campaign. They've not had the bad weekends coming into this one that some of their rivals have. Well, you can scratch that off the list for Teddy, can't you? A DNF going to hurt his charge significantly. Jimmy now taking point in that team at the head of the standings. And while we're still talking about the Diamond Trophy and the Youth Trophy, of course, Marco Butti takes the Youth Trophy victory in 2nd position. Eric Gené, 2nd position overall. Eric Gené, 2nd in class. Ruben Folt in 3rd. Let's take a look then at the inevitable celebrations. Absolutely brilliant stuff from Max Hart. He really does love his motor racing. And this is going to mean the absolute world to team and driver, I think it's fair to say. It's not been the start of the 2025 campaign that Max perhaps would have been hoping for and expecting. But he's got that sorted now here at the Hockenheimring, and no matter what happens from here on in, he can always call himself TCR Europe race winner. And keep your eye on Max Hart. I've got a feeling he's a young man whose every victory will just keep boosting that confidence and keep making him quicker and quicker and quicker. Go then, helmet off. I'm looking forward to hearing what he's got to say when we speak to him in a very short while down in Parc Fermé. But Max Hart, for now, just getting through all the things he needs to get through, make sure to keep the helmet secure, go and line up on the grid. And in fact, perfect timing. Let's go down and have a word with our race winner, Max Hart, in Parc Fermé.
Congratulations, Max. Your first win in TCR Europe. How does it feel?
Yeah, it feels good. Interesting first couple of laps, but after that it was just about trying to be consistent as possible and put in the quali laps. I must thank the team. They have given me an absolutely superb car. We went a little bit risky with our setup, but it paid off. The pace was there throughout the whole race, and yeah, I'm so happy. Target competition is the best thing. It's been a tough opening campaign for me, you know, 2 bad results in 2 different tracks, which was a tough start, but my sponsors, I must thank them. They stayed with me, they backed me the whole way, and they trusted my talent, and yeah, I'm so happy to reward them all with this first place.
Congratulations, fantastic result.
Fantastic stuff there for Max Hart. So let's take a look at some of the highlights from the opening race of the day here at Hockenheimring, and it was Marco Butti that failed to get away well from pole position, opening the door for fellow Italian Nico Baldan to take an early race lead. Max Hart was aggressive on setup and aggressive in driving over these opening few encounters. That would set up a great race for him, aided somewhat by this mistake for Italian Marco Butti. While Butti recovered to the racetrack though, a little bit further back, all kinds of shenanigans ensued. That would see the end of several of our drivers and cause a safety car intervention. Under green flag racing conditions again though, and the racing would be no less frantic. Here Felipe Fernandez just runs a little bit deep. He won't be the first driver and he won't be the last driver to make that particular manoeuvre. All the way through the pack, we had some incredible racing. Marco Butti looked, for the time, like he was going to be the man that would be the closest challenger to Max Hart. That charge, though, would fade as the race progressed, and Nico Baldan would be the man trying to make the moves. But no moves were needed by Max Hart from that great start and an aggressive opening to the race. A victory, his first in TCR Europe, would go the way of the target competition driver. Success never tasted better for Max Hart, and he will be delighted with a very, very, very impressive drive indeed. Congratulations all round. Podium about to take place, and I dare say we're going to see a rather cheerful podium after what was a very exciting, if slightly curious race for several of our drivers. We've got some big names failing to score, not least of which is Teddy Clairet, who came into this one as our championship leader. Got a lot of work to do in race number 2. Santiago Concepcion, another big name that failed to make it to the flag. Again, a big question mark about the ultimate pace of that driver on this track. Very excited to see Santiago in race number 2 tomorrow. But first, let's do the podium. Jimmy Clairet then. First on the podium in 3rd position. Marco Butti takes his step in second place. And the biggest cheer, no doubt, is safe for our race winner. That is Max Hart. Congratulations all round to the drivers. First time on the top step for Max. Target competition. Back in the winner's circle once again in TCR Europe. That'll be a great, great feeling for that team as well. National anthem there for our race winner, Max Hart. In a few moments' time, there is Gabriel Alonso, TCR Europe, handing out the third place trophy for Jimmy Clairet. Jimmy, good recovery drive from the French driver, TCR Europe promoter, Ruben Fernandez, the one that gives out the second place trophy to a reasonably happy looking Marco Butti. I think it may be a case of what could have been for the Italian. And then Gabriel Alonso once again. The winner's trophy this time for Max Hart. Look at that smile. Max likes that one, doesn't he? Be fantastic for the collection. The first win is always the best one. Ruben Fernandez handing out the team trophy to target competition as well. It's their first win back in TCR Europe, and they are absolutely delighted. It has to be said. In a few moments' time, I'm sure we'll be handing out a youth trophy as well. Won by Marco Butti, and right on cue, there is Gabriel Alonso. Marco collecting the two trophies, but not the one that he wanted. That's the victory for youth, but he would so dearly have liked the victory overall as well. And here is Mikkel Carlsen, our Diamond Trophy winner. Returnee to TCR Europe, and Ruben Fernandez, TCR Europe promoter, hands out the trophy. Hello, is that Mikkel Carlsen breaking a smile out? Fantastic stuff, yep. He likes that one. It's been a really, really good return to TCR. It's great to have Mikkel back. A great character, great guy. So then, while the podium celebration's ongoing, reminder, 9:10 a.m. UTC tomorrow, race number 2. Make sure you're there for it. And from us all, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.